The following presentation was recorded on the 10th of March 2021. It was presented to community partners and stakeholders across the East Neuk. It was presented by myself, Simon Baldwin of Destination Digital. It runs for about half an hour and there are contact details at the end. A gigabit-capable community network sounds very grand, and the first question that we've been asked by a number of people is, well, what is it? Quite simply, it's trying to create a gigabit-capable broadband network that would serve and provide broadband services at a local level. So we've all presumably got some form of broadband, otherwise we wouldn't be sitting on Zoom calls tonight, but some kind of connectivity. The issue is that an awful lot of that is pretty atrocious, and more of that in a while. The reason that this has come to the fore now, and Linda mentioned the Northeast Fife Area Committee that we presented to in January, is born out of so much that happened within the last 12 months. And again, testament to that is the fact that we're all sitting on Zoom and not in a drafty hall somewhere with me presenting to a screen, but we're all still in lockdown, still restricted and still doing what we're doing. Digital more than ever in the last 12 months has come to the fore as an absolute essential for everybody, whether it's online support with shopping, whether it's working from home, studying from home, business support, e-health, all manner of areas where it's absolutely fundamental and essential for all of us now to have bigger, better, improved broadband to do all the things that we have to do. And lots of learnings out of the last 12 months as well, in terms of people realizing that, you know, they don't necessarily have to be in office, they can work from home. And we're aware from speaking with some of the property agents that, sorry, to turn my phone off, speaking with various property agents that, you know, the increase in demand for rural properties has shot up in the last 12 months as people are looking for places to work in nice places with broadband. But broadband is the number one criteria over and above virtually everything else. So the thinking behind the gigabit-capable broadband is very much based on that. What can be delivered to help a particular rural area? And some of that comes out of what we've been doing in Cupar. So, slides moving on. CuparNow, a very quick background on this, because we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now and talking to everybody had we not created CuparNow. In 2017, the Scottish Government appointed us to be consultants on a program that was called Digital Towns Scotland. That was circa 40 towns across Scotland who were asking the question of how we use digital to support our place. And that was from places up in the islands down to the borders and everywhere in between. We spoke with all of those places and listened to everything that everybody had to say. And in essence, all of them were asking the same thing. How can we utilize digital, whatever digital might be, to support businesses, community, residents, tourists, everything? We made our recommendations back as part of that program in 2018. And in the 2018 program, we're tasked with finding a demonstration town. And we chose Cupar. And I chose Cupar because I used to live in it and I live 6 miles from it. And we also knew a number of the people that were involved in the town, and that the business association who had championed their idea of being involved in the program in the first place were extremely proactive in trying to be that demonstration project. So they were chosen, and the campaign started in 2018, and it concluded that part of it in 2019 with a ballot of businesses who were asked, if you want this to continue, will you vote for it? And if you vote for it, you'll be paying for it. And a majority of businesses, by number and by rateable value size, voted yes. So we created what is now the UK and Scotland's first and only digital improvement district in late 2019, and then launched everything in early 2020, only to be locked down and shut down and everything that we've had to face since. But crucially, because it's digital, we haven't stopped 7 days a week delivering everything that we've been delivering. And again, that is part of the reason why we are where we are. What does a digital improvement district do? It supports the levy paying business community. It supports community partners, culture and tourism, education and training, environmental projects, health and social care partnerships, and everything sort of wraps around that hub and spoke model to look at how everything can help support things economically at a local level in a sustainable way. And all of those aspects anchor back to the 2017 Digital Towns program, that all of the places that were across Scotland were all asking for aspects of that to be the the given outcome of this project. And some of that you can see. This is a slide that we created at the end of last year, and I'm not going to talk through all of that, but you can scan over that. And those are just some of the headline stats up until December of things that CuparNow had then achieved and delivered across multiple channels in support of multiple audiences with digital, managed digital engagement in support of the town and all the different audiences that are there. That's a sort of a wrap, if you like, of what CuparNow has, how it came to be and what it's done. And all of that was presented in an annual report so far that's been done within the annual report that was presented to the North East Fife Area Committee in January, and explained the wider stuff. But that isn't your screen, it's mine. Out of all of that work, in our discussions with residents and businesses and community organizations in and around Cupar, came the question over and over and over again, yes, you're doing what you're doing, but what about connectivity? What about real digital improvement in terms of how we can all connect to the internet? And that only became more evident and more exacerbated as we went into lockdown last year, with people being forced to work from home, people being forced to study from home, businesses having to suddenly trade online and do more online from their business premises. And it became very, very clear that Cupar, as in many places, is a complete mixed bag in terms of connectivity. Some places, fine. Other parts, absolutely woeful. And in fact, case in point, we've had a business contact us this week who are on Crossgate in Cupar. For those of you that know it, they've had to install CCTV for insurance purposes, but their CCTV system won't work because their broadband is so bad. And so they're now in a catch-22. So it's issues like that that have come up over and over and over again. Where does that lead us now? Well, we have, having created the Digital Improvement District, we have a 5-year term that's written into legislation around what we've done. So CuparNow will be in existence through until 2024 at least. And if the businesses in town vote for it to continue, we'll get another 5 years. But that 5-year term enables us to take a bit of a step back as the business who's delivering it and say, well, okay, is there a way that we can look at what we're doing in Cupar, but do it differently elsewhere? Are there elements of what we're doing that could support other places? And are there ways that we can utilize the connectivity side of it to make that happen? So that's the background. In October last year, we launched a portal called CuparNow Connected, and we just put the question out there: if you've got really bad broadband, would you be interested in significantly improved broadband? Now, I know that's a bit of a silly question because most people are going to say yes, but we just wanted to see how many people would say yes. And over a period of time, each one of those pins is somebody who's registered their interest to say yes, please. And some of those pins represent multiple properties, because if it's the same postcode, it's more than one. But we've had lots and lots and lots of interest, and we've not exactly pushed that. There's been a bit of bit of coverage on Facebook, a couple of press releases, but it's not that we've really hammered it. But there's clearly a large demand for improved connectivity. And what's happened as a result of that is that we can see CuparNow's influence start to spread. And that's a given from our digital interaction day to day and what we're doing. So the initial coverage of where we were looking was 2018 was Cupar and its ward of the local authority ward area. That's again written into our business plan of the places and people that we support. But as time's progressed, we're acutely aware that more and more people are relying on everything that we're doing in and around Cupar. Not only Bell Baxter's catchment area, obviously, because that all feeds into Cupar, but increasingly we're seeing more and more people engaged with what we do digitally. And I've got a couple of slides here that just show some of these stats. So on Facebook, as an example, CuparNow on Facebook, more than 1 in 4 people in the town follow the Facebook page. But those numbers are people in those places who are following CuparNow because they want to find out the information that we're sharing. So this just paints a picture of the digital connectivity that we're doing on a day-to-day basis that is leading us to think differently about what we might be able to do for other areas. That's on Facebook. On our blog, Again, it doesn't pick up some of the places because it's through Google Analytics, and unless Google Analytics identifies it, that's why there's nothing specifically on the East Neuk. But you can see those kind of numbers, and then we've given our world map, which we're very proud of. The sun never sets on Cooper is the phrase that we use now. We've got cities right the way across the United Kingdom trying to find information and reading information that we're sharing, and so on and so forth. That shapes us to realize the influence that we're having, but also down to the digital connectivity of what's being done. So through that registration process, and the map that's on the screen there with the red dots is people who registered since October on our Cooper portal. And you can see a number of those started to cross over into East Neuk. We know a number of people in the East Neuk. It's a small part of the world. And in those conversations, a number of them said to us, well, why don't you set up an EastNeukNow portal and see if anybody in the East Neuk's interested in what you might be able to do with improved broadband services, which is precisely what we look to do. But then we also had people, sorry, go back one. We also had people asking us in other areas, branching east, north, west, south, everywhere, saying exactly the same thing. We won't be delivering a digital improvement district in the East Neuk. And Linda asked that question after the meeting in January. She said, why can't you do a digital improvement district to cover the East Neuk? One of the reasons for that was if everybody tonight said, "Way, this is a great idea, let's go," it would be 2023 at the earliest before we could actually have a ballot, because that's the legislative process and it's very, very protracted. So what we could look to do is create a gigabit-capable community network, which would then deliver the same hub and spoke elements that we've talked about, but in a different way. So we wouldn't be looking at levy-paying businesses, although it says that on the screen. We would be looking at residents and businesses buying into a network, just as we all do, whether through O2 or Virgin or whoever it might be. And a proportion of that comes back in to support all of the support work that Cooper delivers. That's the thinking and the aspiration at the moment. And if we were to do that, yes, we could expand out from CuparNow. CuparNow does what it does. And as I said, we're very proud of that work. But we could then look to introduce an EastNeukNow doing more or less the same kind of stuff, but funded differently. And it won't be a surprise that on the back of that, we've had various people speak to us from St Andrews. We've gone a couple of Zoom calls with businesses and organizations this week from St Andrews saying, oh, we'd like you to consider us if you're thinking about that prospect and proposition. And we've also had some folk from Levermouth neck of the woods speak with us and partners that we're working with to say, well, if this is something that's being considered, maybe there could be a Levermouth now as well. These don't exist at the moment, but they're again potentials and part of the aspiration of what we're looking at and what we're discussing. And how does that work back across the whole of the Northeast Fife area? Well, we've stuck the different wards in there. CuparNow is, very much our home and our base, and that's where all of our work to date has been. But there's absolutely no reason, if the will is there and the interest is there, that some of this couldn't be evolved and developed to look elsewhere. So take a breather. At that point, R100, I would hazard a guess that most people on this call will know of the R100 program to deliver super fast broadband to 100% of properties across Scotland. That's been an aspiration for a number of years. It's been backed by, cross-party support and so on and so forth. But it's what became clear as that progress has happened is that we're not going to get to R100, and that there are a percentage of properties that are always out on a limb and so on and so forth. And as a result of that, the Scottish Government has introduced a voucher scheme, a number of different voucher schemes over a period of time to encourage people to take up those vouchers. Those vouchers can be combined and created into community fibre partnerships and more and more and more. So there's lots of ways that people have been able to do little developments at little places at times over a period of time now to try and expand the network and get more people signed up to that. That's not really where we're at. It's the same thinking, but it's in a much bigger scale, if you like. This is from our tech partners that are involved in Destination Digital, our business that's running all of this. This is a screenshot from Digital Scotland's portal, which shows every single address that is eligible for voucher support. And you can see from those there are an awful lot. So across the whole of the Northeast Fife area, there's something around 2,300 main vouchers and something around 2,300 interim vouchers. That's an awful lot of properties that currently don't have super fast broadband. One of the key things on this, though, and I'm sure there are people on the call here, I'm stuck in the middle of that map in Balmullo, that's where I stay and based. We have the equivalent of super fast broadband. We're on a green cabinet, but we're ticked off now. We're job done as far as anybody's concerned. We have super fast, but boy, do we need more. So even those who have very, very poor connectivity can get help to get better connectivity. But even those who are deemed to have okay connectivity are still going to want improved connectivity. And that isn't going to be forthcoming anytime soon through the green cabinets or anywhere else. So what we're looking at the moment is, can we shape something that's going to deliver all of this and more? It's a very, very big proposition, but it's one that it sort of excites us, and we're looking to try and get people on board. So if you look at all of our registrations to date, that's everybody so far that's registered through the portals that we've set up. And as I said, we haven't exactly banged the drum on that. And each one of those might represent more than one property. In some cases, we know it represents multiple properties. And if we overlay that by ward, again, we can see pretty much, there's interest, even in the small scale of where we've been at the moment. There's pretty much interest across everywhere. And breathe. So that's where we are. What happens next is the big question, because for us to take this forward, we need engagement, we need interaction. And that's the conversation I had with Linda after the presentation in January. We were thinking Cupar and its immediate catchment. Linda sort of shone a light on the fact, well, actually the East Neuk might be an area. And since then, there's lots and lots of other conversations we're having further afield that show people are wanting more or less the same thing. So next question on the tech front. I'm not a technician at all. And if anybody has any technical questions, we will please get in touch, because we will then follow up individually, because that's not what I'm about. This isn't what it's about now. But in essence, the tech support for this is the deployment of a gigabit capable network that will be delivered anchored to fiber, but then deployed wirelessly. And the benefit of that is that, one, the speed of deployment. If we're talking about digging up every village and street across the East Neuk to be able to provide fiber to the premises, we'll probably all be equally in a trench under the ground with the fiber by the time that happens. So this is the speed of deployment of gigabit capable broadband is significantly faster if one uses wireless technology. And that's what we're talking about. Our tech partners are experts in wireless technology. They have deployed wireless networks across cities and rural areas of Scotland, and exactly the same technology is in use all the way across the world now in terms of deploying super fast and ultra fast broadband. So I've put that little graphic up. I'm not going to start discussing it, but to demonstrate the fact that this isn't about digging up lots and lots of streets or digging up lots and lots of fields. It's about anchoring point to point and meshing the area. And so taking the CuparNow as a proposition, and we've done some of the work on this so far in terms of how this could scope out. Forgive my Janet and John drawings here, because this isn't from a technician, this is from me. But if we were to spread out from Cupar, it then becomes possible to point and mesh that network further and further afield, using fiber out of the ground where we need it, but bouncing point to point and connecting properties point to point with the technology that allows that wireless deployment. And how that could develop further on from that, again, once it starts to expand, it's not necessarily plug and play, but it's a simple process from that point of view to extend the network if the demand is there. And the demand is absolutely everything. We've been in discussions with Openreach going back to 2019 and before that, about their network, about their plans, about R100, about what they're doing. Absolutely everything is demand led. if there isn't a demand, nothing happens. No one anymore is building networks in the hope that somebody is going to then connect to them. So we have to show the demand for what we're talking about. And if we can do that, then we can take things further. So many hands, that's the point. We have our registration page for the East Neuk set up. From this, by all means, think about it, talk about it, come back to me with any questions, or Linda. We'll you know, as a case touch point to speak with, that we can then pick up and have a further conversation. All we're asking at the moment is for people to register their interest. If people register their interest, we will know the demand. That demand is fundamental to taking this forward. If the demand isn't there, we'll just carry on doing what we're doing, because it's not for us to force the issue. If the demand is there, it enables us to then start opening doors and looking to what can be delivered. And on that front, it's then down to what's buildable with support that might be there. So on the Reaching 100, it's not down to us, again, to arm twist people. If someone registers their interest, the next stage in that process, once we have sufficient numbers and sufficient clusters, is we pass that information on to Digital Scotland. Digital Scotland then write to each individual person that's made the register of interest and says, you are eligible for funding. Do you wish to proceed? If you wish to proceed, you agree to sign up to a network, and that network would be our gigabit-capable network. So everybody would know the pricing and the structure and everything by then. At that point, and only at that point, does anybody actually commit to doing anything. So the registration process is purely a registration of interest for us to see the demand. Then there's the step where Digital Scotland invite you to say, yes, we want to commit. And at that point, you then commit to take things forward. And at that point, we then start to be able to build the network that is going to be able to deliver what we're talking about. A couple of slides to wrap up, and then we've got questions and answers. As I've said, the opportunity depends on the demand. If numbers are sufficient and people are interested, we think this provides a great opportunity to take the CuparNow model, but change it, and to create a network where people are buying in and paying for broadband with a locally run network, delivering gigabit-capable speeds, that a percentage of that will then come back in to provide all the hub and spoke elements that we know are working so well in supporting Cupar across community partnerships, culture tourism, and all the hubs that are on the screen there. That's where we're at. We've had I know there's a few folk from Fife Council on this call. We've had a couple of calls with Fife Council. We're pulling together a business case to present to Fife Council with a request that they consider that as part of the UK Levelling Up Fund. We know they have key issues to address around tackling poverty, leading economic recovery, community support, and you know, many other things. We know from the work that we're delivering Cupar that some of what we're doing is supporting and helping on those fronts. And if we can demonstrate people are interested, and I think they are, then we can work in partnership with Fife Council and other partners and stakeholders to try and make this happen. So that's me done. I was trying to keep that to 30 minutes. I think I have.